It was ruthless, brutal, and extremely violent. It began on a small island and within a few decades dominated the organised crime scene of entire countries. It was synonymous of money and power. Movies and songs have been dedicated to it. What has happened to the Sicilian Mafia? It is hard to understand when the first crime syndicate was founded in Sicily. However, the term mafia can be traced back to the second half of 19th century, when few Italian members of parliament compiled the first report about the mafia. In that report, the term mafia is described as industry of violence and already deeply rooted in Sicilian society. Mafia consolidated even more after the Italian unification, which occurred in 1861 with the defeat of the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. Due to the defeat, army and police in Sicily have been disbanded, and this lack of law and order has caused rich landowners and businessmen to rely on a sort of personal protection. For decades, mafiosi have been involved in regulating, with or without the use of violence, several disputes which occurred more often amongst rich landowners and poor farmers or cattle thieves. During these years, also one of the most important pillars of mafia has been introduced, omerta. Whoever decided to use services from mafia was forced to a total silence and no interaction whatsoever with police or official local authority. Given the speed and the effectiveness, mafia's services were soon in high demand, and people in Sicily preferred to have their disputes settled by mafia rather than waiting for several years using the ordinary judiciary system. The fascist regime scored few successes in containing the power of mafia, but mafiosi have definitely not been crashed out, as Mussolini and his propaganda were telling the country. One episode is worth mentioning to better understand how strong and bold the mafia was already in 1924. When Mussolini visited Sicily, one of the local mafia bosses approached him and whispered in his ear that policemen and security were totally redundant. Since Mussolini was in his territory and he was welcome, nothing would have happened to him. This is a clear example that mafia considered itself not only above the law, but also stronger than the Italian government. After this episode, Mussolini decided to intensify the fight against mafia, achieving some degree of success in 1925. This reaction of the Fascist Party forced a few bosses to escape from Sicily to relocate in New York City and Montreal. Yes, that's correct. That's how the mafia started operating in North America. The Rizzuto family settled down in Montreal, and both Gambino and Bonanno families relocated to New York. Those three families founded criminal empires in places they escaped to after the Second World War. Such a small world. It all links back to Sicily, the motherland. In 1943, after the Allied troops invaded Sicily, also with the logistical support of Lucky Luciano, boss of New York City and other affiliates, and commenced to free Italy from the fascist regime, Sicily was once again a lawless region, with no official authority and little police forces. As it was the case in the second half of the 19th century, this was a stunning opportunity for mafia to rise even more and extend their control over the entire region. It was in this situation that mafia bosses decided to commence new criminal activities and to infiltrate the political landscape of Italy, placing their men in crucial seats. The mafia also shifted from being a mainly rural organisation to a structured urban crime syndicate, moving to Palermo and other large Sicilian cities. After those two combined moves were implemented, the modern mafia came to light. Other than protection, pervasive control over the territory, extortion, racketeering, kidnapping for ransom, the mafia entered the two new profitable businesses, drug trafficking and real estate. In addition, the presence of trustworthy mafiosi, or so-called men of honor, within the government bodies as well as police departments guaranteed mafia a sort of immunity to legal proceedings and made easier and faster to obtain concessions from the relevant authorities. Within a decade from the end of the Second World War, a large portion of the economy of Sicily was in the firm hands of the mafia. Real estate speculation in Palermo and other cities, quarries, cement plants, infrastructure developments were controlled by a bunch of a few elected people. Two notorious colluding Sicilian politicians, Vito Ciancimino and Salvo Lima, approved more than 3,000 building permits in the city of Palermo alone, within a few years granting 80% of them to only 5 retired Italians with no previous construction experience. The mafia got smarter. Being invisible with no paper trail was another important aspect. This golden age for mafia did not last long. Following a quarrel over a missing cargo of heroin shipped to the United States and a few double-cross moves from minor clans, La Barbera clan declared war on De Pizza and Manzella clans. The first Sicilian Mafia War broke out, and it lasted until 1963, when the reaction of the public opinion to a mass murdering of 7 policemen in Italy convinced the Italian institutions to intervene. Police and carabinieri conducted several arrests, forcing mafiosi to hide or flee to South America. Amongst those, there was also Tommaso Buscetta, not only one of the most prolific killers and feared bosses during the First War of Mafia, but also the most important turncoat or pentito in the 90s. We'll discuss more about this later on in the following parts of this video. The second half of the 60s has been a dramatic and unprofitable period for Sicilian Mafia. Police forces were still hunting down mafiosi, and business was massively affected. In addition, the Commissione, highest authority appointed by mafia clans, was disbanded due to the war, and there was not a central organ to coordinate the mafia clans' activities or to regulate internal disputes. Before continuing with our story, it could be useful to make a few remarks about the mafia, which often are misunderstood. The Sicilian Mafia may also be referred to as the Cosa Nostra, which in Italian means our thing. Since Sicilian Mafia and American Mafia share the same roots, it is common to also refer to American Mafia as Cosa Nostra. Only Sicilian-born men above 16 years of age can be inducted into the Mafia, and so considered made men or men of honor. Affiliation occurs after several years of activity in the service of a clan, and after having proved the value and loyalty to Cosa Nostra. The affiliation ritual of the modern mafia has been described in details by Giovanni Bruscia, a pentito or turncoat, who has meticulously pressed the button of the remote controller connected to the bomb which caused the murder of Giovanni Falcone and 4 other people. He said that he has been brought to a room when his loyalty to Cosa Nostra was tested, despite the fact he had already served for several years within the organization. Afterwards, Salvatore Riina, using a needle, poked the finger of Bruscia in order to drop a few drops of blood onto a picture of a saint, which was set on fire together with Bruscia's blood. Bruscia needed to hold in his hands the holy card on fire for several seconds as Riina pronounced the following words: "If you betray Cosa Nostra, your flesh will burn like this holy card." The life of a mafioso, or made man, is subject to several rules which cannot be breached, or heavy penalties, including death, may be inflicted on the delinquent. Amongst those rules, the most important ones include the full respect a mafioso needs to pay towards his superiors, his and other mafiosos' wives, as well as not to hang around in bars or clubs or not stealing. A mafioso must be loyal to Cosa Nostra until his death and never interact with police or official authorities. Family does not mean family in the most strict meaning. A family is composed of men who may or may not be related by blood. This is also one of the reasons why, recently, the mafia clans are named after the neighborhoods or the cities where they're predominantly active. For instance, Clan of Brancaccio a neighbourhood of Palermo, or clan of Castelvetrano, a small town close to Trapani. A family is ruled by a boss, and in case of death or arrest, by a second-in-command. A boss is usually assisted by a consigliere, or counsellor, mostly for legal or financial matters. Everyone recalls Tom Hagen in the role of consigliere in the movie Godfather. Such a masterpiece. Below the boss, there are so-called capidecina, which means supervisor of 10 soldiers, despite in reality the number of soldiers can vary. A capodecina reports to the boss and is responsible for the actions of his soldiers. A group of 2 or more geographically contiguous families composed a mandamento. In other words, a mandamento is a district commission composed of the bosses of each families active in a specific delineated territory. One level up, we found the provincial commission, which is a powerful commission composed of the most influent bosses in each province. There are a total of 5 provincial commissions in the whole of Sicily. The highest level of the mafia structure is occupied by cupola, or commission, which is the ultimate authority of the Sicilian Mafia. Composed of representatives of each provincial commission, it is a democratic organisation where the most important and sensitive matters are discussed and resolved, including murders of politicians, judges, other mafia bosses and so on. Unlike often portrayed by movies and the media, several turncoats have mentioned that the cupola does not have a head of cupola and the so-called boss of bosses does not exist, but all the decisions are taken after extensive discussions and regulated according to the rules and customs of mafia. So, let's get back to our story. We said that due to a decisive reaction of the Italian government and the judiciary institutions, mafia's businesses were on their knees and most of mafiosi were on the run to escape arrest. However, it was in 1968 first and again in 1969 that unexpected events happened. The Tribunal of Catanzaro first and the Tribunal of Bari after dismissed cases against hundreds of mafiosi for lack of evidence, also denying the existence of mafia itself. This was a low blow to all institutions which were fighting the mafia and to the morale of public opinion. The survivors of the First Mafia War were back on track, ready to regroup, reorganise and take over once again the criminal landscape of Italy and more. And that's the end of part 1. We hope you enjoyed this one. We'll see you next week. In the meantime, please comment, like, subscribe below and turn on your alerts. We'll see you soon.